HP Labs is a small part of HP. HP, huge firm, 300,000 employees, it's unbelievable. Hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue. And HP Labs is just 600 people. 600 scientists and engineers. There's a scientific term for them, they're called geeks. I'm one of them. We do research for HP Labs. We don't actually research, do product research. We look about 5 to 10 years out, that's our job. Look 5 to 10 years out, be the early warning radar for the company. We look at new opportunities for HP, and things like laser printers and inkjet printers came out of our research in the past. But we also look at fundamental science, things like cryptography, the stuff that keeps your information on the internet secret, and quantum computing. That's a big bet for the future. Maybe there's a different way to build computers. So, sustainability. Sustainability, this is a very bland corporate statement. Let's use the laser pointer here. Very bland corporate definition of sustainability. There are much more exciting definitions of sustainability. But traditionally, $100 billion corporations haven't really been proactive about sustainability and climate change. They haven't seen the big win yet. But we think this is changing. We think the realization is setting in that, climate change is going to radically affect businesses. It's even going to affect entire economies. And that the big corporations better start to become proactive, start to ready themselves, start to help mitigate these changes that are coming to the climate. It's really tempting to press back because it's on the right, but I'm going to try and get it right. So here's the big point. What can IT do? The IT industry itself produces about 2% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. So even if we manage to make computers run on air, we're not working on that. But don't worry, they're still running on electricity. But even if we make them run on air, we still won't really have attacked the big problem. The big problem is the rest of the economy, the rest of industry, and agriculture, which produce 98% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. But the point is that all of the low carbon solutions for those other industries are going to involve IT. So the IT industry, HP in particular, is a very big component of the IT industry. We better get involved in the low carbon solutions for the other sectors of the economy. That's why HP set up the lab that I work in, 23 people. We can change the world, believe me. 23 people, and our new lab, which was formed earlier this year, is called the Sustainable IT Ecosystems Lab. That's our task, work on this 98% issue. So let's think about one of those 98% industries, printing. HP, I've chosen this example because HP's well known for its involvement in printing. Most people know us as sellers of expensive ink cartridges. I'm sure, hands up anyone who's got an HP printer. Will you pay my wages? Thanks very much. Appreciate that. So it's estimated that 53 trillion A4 equivalent pages are printed in the world each year. Unimaginable number. It's about 4 million a second, something like that. Too many really to imagine. This pretty picture here, this is the only colour you'll see in my slide set. This pretty picture here shows you how those pages are broken down. By far the biggest segment of pages is newspapers, closely followed by magazines. Books are another big one, but you can see these others over here. Now, HP currently only prints a small amount of these pages, believe it or not. But many of these sectors are extremely wasteful. Newspapers, about 20% of them are printed and then sent for pulping. They go back into the paper food chain. Magazines are even worse. Those glossy magazines that fill the shelves, only about 50% of those are ever actually sold to a customer. Books, most of them, 30% of books sit in warehouses and eventually return to the pulping process and are returned into the paper cycle. There are many reasons for this. I don't have time to go into them. But the digital presses that HP is developing are much more flexible than current production mechanisms. We believe there's the potential to remove a lot of this waste. And we think that a very, very conservative figure, I'd actually double it here. I know I'm speaking amongst friends, so I can do that. I think that probably you're looking at about double that, 80 million tonnes of unnecessary greenhouse gas emissions a year that you can clean up by moving to these new presses. We're working on this issue with Guardian newspapers. We're looking at ways of transforming their print production methods. So that's an example that's really relevant to HP. That's an example of our research that I'm sure you can appreciate is relevant to HP. But we want to reach out to many other industry sectors. HP will become involved in smart buildings, in smart transport logistics. But, as I said before, dull corporate talk, and it will be a dull corporate method by which HP wields influence in there. HP will be providing the infrastructure. We won't be doing the fancy games. We probably won't be doing the Web 2.0 software. We'll be providing the infrastructure that goes underneath. So wherever it gets dull, look for HP. Another thing we're working on, the slide set has gone chaotic. Okay. Another thing we're working with NGOs and with charities. One of these charities is the Climate Futures Project. This is a charity, in fact. The Climate Futures Project have come up with 5 scenarios, 5 future possible scenarios. And the point of coming up with these scenarios is they were developed by experts, and they're allowing us to imagine what will happen to businesses, what will happen to people's lives, what will happen to corporations in future scenarios that have been badly affected by climate change. They range from very optimistic scenarios to very pessimistic scenarios, but the intent is to allow planning. I know we've put a lot of Climate Futures brochures out there, printed on recycled paper. We've put a lot out there. I urge you to have a look into Climate Futures when you read the talk. Got it. That's me.